that's apparently the web page I'm on. Yes.
Perfect. Well, we'll go ahead and get things started. I'm Ian Campbell. I'm one of the financial advisors that's part of the 401k plan. My business partner, Mark L., is also available to you as well, 2 for 1. Alpha Capital is a much larger firm as well. We've got advisors that do just wealth management, insurance, things of the like. So if there's any questions that you have, we've got specialists around that. So feel free to let us know if there's anything else. But for today, we're going to talk about the 401k plan, and that's our primary role. So the few documents that I've got up on my screen are going to be sent to you, and they already have, with the enrollment booklet, the online enrollment packet, and then also an asset allocation guide. The first one we'll talk about is the online enrollment packet, and it starts on the second page. There are 2 options for enrolling. You can do a paper form, or you can do it through the website, the provider's website. The provider's website is this first one that we'll talk about, and you'll go to their link below in the middle of the screen. And then you'll see, once you get to that page, there'll be a gray box in the middle of it. In that top left corner, you'll see where it says select online enrollment. You'll click that one time, and then it'll ask you to type in a plan password. The plan password is unique to the business, so make sure you are, making this is what you're typing in, a CE Grace in all capital letters, and then you'll hit next. I'm going to hop down to page 8 of 14, and this is exactly what I was explaining here. Is you'll go to that website, you'll see this box here. The first time you'll use online enrollment, and then it will ask you to type in that plan password, and you'll type in CE Grace here in that section, and then hit next. This website will be used for all future logins as well, so bookmark that, save it to your favorites, whatever you do to keep track of that. After you typed in the plan password, you'll be prompted to put in some contact information and then create your username and password and fill out the other information about the online enrollment. It's very straightforward. This is a step-by-step guide, so if you need assistance or would like to have that up or flip through this before, recommend it. About halfway through the process, there's a spot where it will say source of money when you're selecting your investments. We do recommend everybody that just selects all sources of money. What that means is that your contributions plus the company contributions are going to be invested the same. If you wanted to invest it differently, you could. We don't recommend it just because it's harder to keep track of just one sled of investments, let alone 2 sets of investments. But definitely pick all sources of money if you would like, and then hit next. For the purposes of the call, we do like to go and shift over to the paper version of the enrollment form just to give you a heads up of what type of information that you're going to be putting in, and then also the decisions that are going to be made throughout that process. The beginning, all contact information there, self-explanatory. The one piece that's unique is the date of hire. So check with Daniel, make sure you got that up to date and you've got that at your fingertips. You will need that online as well before you go through those prompts. The enrollment election is in that second section of the first page of that enrollment form. This will be where we'll talk about the decisions that you're going to be making. The first one is, are you going to participate or not? Hopefully the answer is yes for everybody, but understand that there are some that you may not want to participate at this time. If you don't want to participate, this 2-page paper form will actually serve as a waiver. You'll actually fill out that top section, select this third box, I elect not to contribute in the retirement plan at this time, and then turn that back into Daniel, and he'll keep for his records. It's essentially proof that you've been provided the benefit of the plan, and here's a record of you saying no. It's not a no forever. Based off of the plan, you have semi-annual enrollments, so if you do say no now, you'd have to wait until July of this year. If you said no in July, you'd have to wait until the following January and so on. But you can enter the plan if you would like in the future every 6 months essentially. For those who do want to participate in the plan, there are 2 contribution types that are available. One of them is a pre-tax deduction, and then the second one would be a Roth after-tax deduction or contribution. The difference between the 2 is essentially when the money is taxed. It's either taxed today or it's taxed when you pull it out in retirement at some future time. The differences between the two is what your tax rate is today and what you foresee tax rates to be when you're withdrawing the money. And do you want to go and pay today's tax rates or pay a hypothetical future tax rate of we don't know what it is based off of your income and age and so on. So there isn't a best guess or a perfect science to what is the best case scenario. We tend to see more people will do the pre-tax deduction or contribution because those individuals are trying to take the tax benefit today versus the tax benefit at some future time. With the Roth contribution, we tend to see folks will do that if they're younger or they're in their earlier working career, and they're in a lower compensation as well. For those who do want to save as much as they can in their 401k and not affect their take-home pay as much, then that pre-tax option would be a best case scenario as well. So there's a pause. Do you have any questions at all about pre-tax and Roth and the differences between?
No, it sounds like you've done a pretty good job of explaining it. I think I have it. I think I understand it.
And what you can do too is whatever you decide today or this week, you can always adjust it as well. It's not set in stone, and really nothing's set in stone. Your contribution rate, the how much question, for lack of a better term, the investments, as well as Roth and pre-tax, and also even enrolling. You can opt out in the future and stop contributions if you want as well. So hopping over to the how much question, I personally feel that this is the most important one, because if you're saving just 1 or 2% and thinking you're going to live comfortably in retirement on your $100,000 lifestyle, it's not going to be a pretty picture when you turn 65 or 67 and retire. So being realistic and understanding what you should be doing is important. The reason why those two numbers 8 and 10 are there is 8% is a national average around all age groups and all industries, all states, of what the average individual is saving of their own money into their 401k plan. 10% would be a recommended number if you asked myself, Mark, Googled it, looked up how much should I be saving in a retirement account. 10% is really that number that you would see. And in some cases, even 15% is thrown around a lot as well. So use those two numbers as kind of a watermark to get to, because those are important levels to be at. The next section is blank for your choice. You can put whatever you would like in there as well, and you can change it throughout the year if you would like as well. What's important to understand too is the benefit of the company match that's available to those who do participate and save in their 401k plan. So you have to save to get the company benefit, and there's an equation that's tied to the company match that's all explained. It's called a safe harbor match, and it's a total of 4% match that you would get. And the way it works is if you put in 1, you'll get 1. If you put in 2, you'll get 2, 3 for 3. If you put in 4, you'll get 3.5. If you put in 5, you'll get the maximum of 4. So you'd have to put in 5 to get the full 4. If you put in greater than 5, you'll still get that 4. And I put that schedule in that email just to help with that. The equation is 100% on the first 3% that you put in, and then 50% on the next 2% that you put in. So a maximum of 4 is available if you save 5 or greater. So it would behoove everybody to at least start out at 5. If you are contemplating starting out at 5 or 6, also think about bumping up that contribution, once a year to increase up to that, say, 8% or 10% level. So with that being said, if you're starting out at 5, next year go to 6, following year go to 7, and that 1% increase year after year to get up to those levels is an easy way to chip at that overall goal of 10% or greater. So I want to pause. Is there any questions about the match or the how much question?
I guess not really, other than we're looking at the paper form now. Once I go online, this is all there. I can choose my contribution, all that right there.
Exactly. So you'll see here, I just got the screenshot pulled up. So this is about 40% here. So you'll click which one you want. You'll say, click to select, you'll hit pre-tax or Roth, and then you can pick a percentage there and then, say percentage, and then you just put in the number over there to the right side.
Excellent. Thank you.
Of course. So hopping down to the second page of the enrollment form, this will also be online, almost very similar to this layout of picking the investment choices. There's roughly about 30 or so available to you. Part of Mark and I's primary role on the 401k plan is to make sure that this investment menu is the best that it possibly can be. So we're constantly reviewing these and putting them through a very rigid evaluation criteria quarterly. If there's a fund that does not do well for consecutive quarters, we'll pull it out and replace it with a like-kind fund. So we're always constantly improving this menu throughout the time. There's really good investments from a performance standpoint, and also they're all low cost or the lowest cost available. They're all institutional grade mutual funds. But telling you you've got great funds and low cost doesn't really help with that selection. So part of our ongoing education and advice to each one of you is we put together this asset allocation guide to help with that investment selection. So part of the investment selection, you can pick and choose from whatever is available. The top larger rectangle that we have here on the screen is for those who want to be a little bit more hands-on with their investment selection. The investments are listed there on that left-hand column. There are categories or asset classes in that second one. The ticker symbol's in the middle. So if you care to do some more research, you can just Google those 5 letters there and find out a great deal of information. The next 5 columns up at the top are risk tolerances based off of the equities and fixed income ratios. So for, say, a moderate investor, somebody that's nearing retirement, we've done the math and the homework of what we would recommend you invest in if you were in that risk tolerance category or spectrum. For those who are in their 20s and 30s, it's most appropriate to be in that aggressive column. In your 40s and 50s, we tend to see people in that moderate aggressive column. And then in your 60s, we tend to see folks in that moderate 50-50 blend. And then in retirement, the two to the left, conservative and moderate conservative. And the ask of the individual is if you're going to follow this guide, we've done the math for this start, but we update this every quarter. This is the newest one for April. And you would just basically transfer these numbers to that sheet or to the website online, line it up with that investment, put 6%, find the next one, put 18, and so on, make sure it totals up to 100. The ask is when we come out with this new one in July, is that you log in online. If the numbers have slightly changed or we move these numbers around to a different investment, is you just go online and make that adjustment on the account to make it mirror what's the update. There's no cost of changing your investments at any time. You could change your investments every single day on the website if you wanted to. There's no cost to that at all. So this is more of a hands-on approach with the guide. The hands-off model would be to select a target date fund based off your date of birth. So the way you do that is find out what year it will be when you reach age 65 or 67, and you would find out what range or date range you would fall under, what year it will be. And that would be your most appropriate target date fund based off of your age and date of birth. So you would go 100% into that one fund. Each one of these funds are all diversified all on themselves. So you could think about one of those funds equals one of the columns. The blue ones that I've highlighted are for those individuals that are younger. They're going to retire later in life. That's why there's a bigger year. The blue ones are going to be similar to that aggressive column, 80 to 90% in stocks and equities. As you get closer to the present year, it gets more conservative over time and it de-risks automatically. The next 4 are going to be in that moderate aggressive, aligns that second to the right one. And they're going to be 60 to 70% equities. And then the third kind of section, the ones that are closer to the present year, 2019, 2020, you're going to see those around that 50-50, mix around that moderate column right in the middle. Is there any questions about target date funds or the hands-on model at all?
No, I think that is all pretty self-explanatory. Well, not self-explanatory. I think you've explained it well. I think that's what I'm saying.
Not a problem. Our contact information is on the bottom of this document always. It's in the email that you got as well. We're available to you. This is not a one-and-done process. As you have other employees that will become eligible in the plan, we'll be doing meetings just like this that are available to them. And then also you can reach out to us via phone or email. These are 2 scenarios. Hands-on with a guide, hands-off with just selecting a target date fund that's appropriate. And then the third is you're free to do whatever else you would like as well. We just wanted to help provide a roadmap and a guide for you to pick an appropriate investment choice for now, but also into the future as well. So I'm going to hop back over to the enrollment form. Once you've completed the investments.
I did think of one quick question. As far as at the top larger rectangle there, do you provide information on how they historically perform?
Yeah, so what you can look at is, because there's not a category return for each one of these columns, because it is dictated on how much you're saving, each pay period, and also when you change your investments and things like that. So the produced return on each one of these columns is not something that's compiled, but you can get individual historical returns for each one of these. In this PDF booklet, there's 55 pages, but starting on page 10 through, I think it's like 30, you'll see a fact sheet on each one of these. For these fact sheets, all of these performances are dated year end, because this was produced, not too long ago, and the quarter numbers hadn't been produced. What's really recommended is, if you want the most up-to-date and realistic returns, is just to go online and do this. You'll also see on the online enrollment portal is that you'll have access to all of these investments as well too. Like you can see right here, it says review fund performance and prospectuses. Online is going to have the most up-to-date information. And if you simply Google this 5-letter ticker symbol, pull up resources like Morningstar, Google Finance, Yahoo Finance, and you'll get the actual daily values and so on. You'll see here, this DFA fund. I'll pick one that's got like a large cap fund here. So this American Century is a international investment. For the 1-year performance for 2018, the fund performed negative 16%. But that's not a realistic look at that fund, because right now in 2019, this first quarter, we're at all-time highs again. So what we lost in the fourth quarter of 2018 has been rebounded and then some as well. So just to look at this 1-year performance is not a good benchmark. We like to look at that, 5 to 10 year number for more of a historical performance. But granted, the last 10 years have been straight up since the last recession. So being mindful of these numbers aren't really a full true story of what we would anticipate an average return to be like. The 10-year number is going to be more appropriate, but really a 15-year number is going to be more in line with that, but they don't ever publish that, unfortunately. So be realistic from a return standpoint. You could expect, high single digits, 8 to 9%, and maybe even the high 7s on average in this aggressive column. If you look at a 5-year average, moderate aggressive is going to be about 1% off of that, so 6 to 7, and then 5 to 6 in that moderate range, and then moderate conservative is going to be in that 4 to 5 range, and so on.
Excellent. All right, that pretty much explains it.
Okay. So hopping back to this enrollment form, I'm going to go back up to this last page where you'll sign your name if you're filling out the paper form. The last two things that we'll talk about, one of them being the beneficiary information. You will be able to complete the beneficiary online if you're doing the online enrollment. It's really for, in the event that you pass away, where the monies go. So children, spouse, relatives, you can put that information in there. There is a note on the bottom of this form. This is an IRS rule. If you are legally married and you have a spouse, they have to be named as primary beneficiary at 100% or first in line at 100%. If they're not, they have to acknowledge that they're being skipped, and a witness notary also has to be present as well. So don't want to create any arguments at the dinner table tonight or in the future, but this is an IRS rule and applies to every, retirement account out there. It's just, I wanted to bring that up to your attention.
I should have a problem with that one. Thank you.
Fair enough. And then the plan account rollover is if you have an account that's out in an IRA, a 401k account that you want to consolidate or move over to the retirement plan, you're eligible to do so. But also in the outbound, if you're no longer working for the company in a couple months, a couple years, a couple decades, the monies that you've accumulated in the account or rolled into the account, they can go out as well. They can be transferred in, they can be transferred out. This is just a mention of the process. This will be a form on the receiving side of it. If that does apply to you, There's a whole team at Retirement Plan Consultants, a provider that can help do that heavy lifting of rolling money into the plan and rolling money out of the plan. There's a gal by the name of Stephanie Wolf that's assigned to the plan that can help and assist if that is needed. So if you have any questions about that, you can reach out to us. We can get you in touch with RPC and go through the options and talk about pros and cons to each of that as well. And that's really all that we wanted to cover. I wanted to leave a couple minutes for any questions or any comments that you got, towards the end of here at the half-hour mark. But was there anything else, Don, that you've got questions on or wanted to chat about?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head now. I mean, I'm sure I'll come up with questions once I get into it. It looks like it's pretty, it's not self-explanatory, but pretty easy to log in and get myself situated as far as creating my account goes. Looks like it shouldn't be too difficult to choose my contribution and where I'd like it invested. So those seem like the major things right there. So I think I can handle those parts for now.
Sounds good. Well, if there's anything that you've got questions on in the future, just give us a shout and keep an eye out for quarterly emails that Daniel will get with that, updated allocation guide, a newsletter, short video, things like that. And we look forward to working with you and everybody there at the company, and hope you have a great rest of your afternoon, Don.
All right, Ian, thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Take care. Bye-bye.